It's not actually gone live. So I'm going to have to try that again. You have to let go of your resistance, Natasha.
It tells me everyone can see and hear you on my screen. So are we already?
Oh, can they? Or maybe they can. So it's not looking like it's going live on mine. Let me try again. It said an error occurred. Let's see if they can hear us, and that's great. Here we are. We're live. Maybe we've been live for a while, who knows, but welcome. Thanks for tuning in today. If you're watching, I'm here with Natasha, who has been a pivotal part of my journey into podcasting in some respects, because what Natasha works on, which I'm sure she'll share with you in a moment, part of it is about visibility. And to be fair, I have never been more visible in my life than this last week.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, it is petrifying. And I know that just a few short years ago, the thought of one, having a podcast, two, going live across Facebook and LinkedIn would have been utterly petrifying, and I would never have believed it. So visibility and getting comfortable with that has been a huge part of the journey of actually being able to bring this podcast to life and to be doing stuff like this all week. So Natasha, why don't you introduce yourself to those who are watching? I can see we've got a few people tuned in, but I can't see who they are, but we've got a couple of people saying it's live and I can hear you.
So, amazing. It's always good to know that it's all working, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm Natasha Bray. I'm a success mastery coach for women entrepreneurs who want to unlock the ultimate up level. It's quite vague, I know, but just for anyone who wants to know what that is, I help women up level financially, emotionally, and spiritually. So I'm a coach like yourself, Zoe, but I'm also a healer and a therapist as well. So I tend to combine all three of those together in what I do.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And because we know, don't we, that in this space, there's lots of people who have different modalities. And I think our first podcast episode talked about, difference between coaching, mentoring, and therapy. But in reality, those worlds do often sort of blend into a mixing pot. And I don't know if you've tuned in, but that first episode, we talked about the most important thing is knowing what you're doing and being clear with your clients about the experience they're going to get, so that we aren't in a do-to space, we're in a do-with space, and people come knowing the experience that they're going to get from your service.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, you need to know what you're signing up to as a client, and you need to be clear about what your client is receiving as the coach, mentor, or therapist. Like you said.
And I know I've really enjoyed your approach. My coaching goes quite deep, and so what I look for in a coach is that very deep experience, because I know that's what I need in order to kind of move past those blocks. Kind of visibility being one. Do you want to share with us a little bit about your journey and how you've come to get into this work?
Yeah, sure. So I've always been in the business of transformation, even before I was a business owner. So all of my previous career is working with transformation. So particularly in homelessness services originally. So that's where my background started. Homelessness services, and I used to be a social worker as well. So I was actually a specialist social worker working on 6-week interventions with people who have drug and alcohol issues, but particularly parents who have drug and alcohol issues. So a lot of trauma in the homelessness services and within social services, where I was then a specialist social worker. Interestingly, 6-week interventions tend to be my expertise, and I do 6-week long rapid transformational work with my clients now in business as well.
Yeah, brilliant. And obviously we're here this week kind of talking a bit about podcasting and visibility. And I know one of those 6-week courses is what I did around kind of visibility. What's your journey with visibility been like? And have you ever thought about doing something like a podcast?
Yeah, I am. I'm so impressed, obviously, because I know visibility was a big thing for you. So I think you should be really proud of everything that you've done and everything. The podcast is amazing. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go and check it out. In terms of me, I used to be such unseen. Okay, so unseen. My favorite quote's gone from unseen to visibility queen, and you have definitely done that, Zoe. But for me, I used to be a bit of a wallflower, the introvert, the quiet one. In school, that was kind of the label for me. And I didn't feel safe to be seen. And when I had to do videos for the first time in business, that's when I kind of realized there was something not quite right. I would sweat, I would shake. It was like I was having a trauma response. And I didn't realize that the bullying from school was still impacting on how safe I felt to put myself out there today. Because it happened so long ago, I'd almost just forgotten about it. I didn't think it impacted me anymore. So obviously, to get to where I am now in business, I had to overcome that fear. Because, there's certain things you can't do, such as run group programs or create passive income programs, for example, if you're scared of going on video. It's a key thing in order to scale a business. And obviously that's linked in with your visibility and how safe to be seen and heard that you feel. So it was quite a long journey for me initially before I discovered some of the deeper work that I do now. But I did overcome those fears. And as a result of that, I've been able to have a lot more impact, which is what it's all about, really.
Yeah. And I think things like this are proof of that. I remember for many years, Joe and I would have conversations around, oh, if only people knew about us. That was kind of our main obstacle. And as much as there's that conscious element of like just haven't actually put in place the strategies to enable you to get seen, it's the unconscious stuff that actually gets in the way of you even trying to do those things in the first place. And there is only so much feel the fear and do it anyway that works. It's like wading through treacle, isn't it? When you've kind of got, you've got resistance to it, that you're that you're not making the progress that you want to, and you're doing it anyway. You can sort of feel that, can't you? Like the slug of being able to go ahead. Whereas when you kind of do that deeper work, you can obviously get there so much faster, and just put some real momentum behind it without feeling the intensity of the emotions. I think I still feel the emotions, like we were chatting behind the scenes around it being nerve-wracking. Of course, like it's still nerve-wracking. It doesn't stop you and it doesn't slow you down. It's much more proportionate to how you should feel when you're about to put stuff out into the world, right?
Yeah, I think there's always, a little bit of nerves is a natural thing. But when it's to the point that it stops you moving forward in your business and stops you having the impact that you want to have in the world, then it's more of a problem and you need to work on it. Yes, I remember it's the procrastination. You like write a post, you put the post out on Facebook, you delete it because nobody's liked it. Then you try again, or you film a video like 10 times over. And I can tell you, I've been in that place. And the first one is always the best one. So just save yourself the time of doing all those millions of re-recordings because you're trying to get it perfect. And I think, a lot of this work is around just accepting that nothing's ever perfect and you're enough. Your first attempt will be enough.
Yeah, absolutely. We do weekly videos on YouTube, and obviously now we've got the podcast, and you just don't have time to do several takes because time is precious, and obviously there's clients to work with as well as kind of content produce. And with the podcast, we actually recorded all these episodes in about a day and a half, which was brilliant. And the great thing with podcasting is you can edit it. It's much more easier to kind of cut out the ums and the ahs. And listening to ours back, we can definitely see areas for growth now. Like when you hear yourself back, you'll calm that inner critic, don't you, around, oh, I should have said this differently and I should have done that differently. But it's brilliant to be able to have so many platforms now available for business owners to be able to share their sort of message and purpose with the world. So
yeah, and I think also the great thing about podcasts, if you have got that fear of going on video, you don't really have to be on video for podcasts. I think that's why it'd probably suit me.
It is an introvert's dream, isn't it, really?
Yes, definitely. If you are an introvert, podcasting is probably the way to go compared to being on video. Like you having a YouTube channel and being on video all the time, even though I've overcome those fears now, it's just not what it's not my natural strength, so to speak.
Well, you also have to do what brings you joy, don't you? So I know in your business, you seem to have had success in raising your visibility through social selling. Like that seems to be something that is a real strength and asset of yours. And for ours, the video content that we put out has been a way that we've engaged people into our world. And I think you've got to find like your sweet spot. What do you see as, you know, working well in your business in terms of visibility?
Yeah, so naturally I am more of an introvert, but for anyone watching this who is an introvert, that doesn't mean you can't build a successful business. One thing that I did is I actually went networking around the world. I went to events around the world, pre-pandemic, of course, where I got to increase my audience that way. And now I have a global audience. I actually work across 54 different countries, and that was a part of that by going to business events in different countries to help sort of expand globally, because I knew I wanted to have global impact. For me, my strength is in writing, and I think when I'm prepared, speaking as well, I'm not too bad at that. I think I'd be quite good on a podcast, but writing is my strength, and I do think we should not only just work on overcoming our fears, but playing to our strengths as well in business, of course. So I guess, my people are attracted to me through my writing, and especially my ability to tell stories that help transform people just through the storytelling. Story is a powerful tool.
Do you know, you're not the first person that said that this week. I think we were talking to Nicola Rowley on Monday, and also Abby. Obviously, Abby's whole thing is around stories, isn't it? Because she's into book publishing. And I think that is one of the things that really translates to people, and something we can easily get across in a podcast, is being able to tell those stories, shared experiences that Joe and I have about coaching. And I see it come through in your posts. It's one of the reasons I became a client of yours, is seeing the compelling stories that you tell. So I think for anyone that's in business, finding your platform to be able to tell stories is something that is, I guess part is priority, isn't it? Because it's all part of your visibility and how you reach people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously many people in our audience have kind of been able to tune in and listen to the podcast. I'd be interested to hear what you think your audience would find helpful about our podcast if they're watching you here thinking, why is she chatting to Zoe? Like, what would you say about our podcast to people who know you?
I would say definitely go and check it out, especially if you're interested in coaching. You may be a coach already, but you might want to improve your skills around that. Zoe is extremely knowledgeable, but also you might just be interested in coaching, so you can find out all about it through Zoe's podcast.
Yeah, thank you. And we, the podcast really is zoned in these first initial episodes. I think we've got 9 or 10 coming out over the next 3 weeks, in just helping people to understand more about what coaching is. So again, as we've talked about, this coaching and there's therapy, and how do those worlds sit together? I think knowing where you want to stand on that continuum and where you want to play, and how you kind of communicate that to your clients, and also as a CPD. I know you're a big fan of continued professional development, as am I, always kind of diving into different modalities. And I think a coaching qualification for anybody who's multi-modality is a helpful framework to put around kind of what you already know. So it
really is. I train therapists in my heart healing method. That's another string to my bow, as they say. But something that I've noticed that they struggle with is how to maximize the results through, and that's where my coaching skills come in handy, with how to, plan for the future. It's not just about looking backwards like we do as therapists. Usually we're looking at the past and the traumas and working on resolving that. Then how do you move that person forward? And that's the gap that I see. A lot of therapists don't quite have, how do I get that person to put this transformation into action?
Yeah, because I've done your heart healing, which is a brilliant modality. And that for me is kind of expanding my sort of therapeutical side of my coaching, if you like, and working with clients with deeper, more complex issues, which is obviously the more experienced you become as a coach, the more you seem to attract in, and the wider your container needs to become, so that you can obviously support clients. And I definitely would struggle to have used your modality without all of the experience that I've had in coaching, just in other little things like skills like reframing, how to ask empowering questions, and and I know that, as therapists you cover a lot of this stuff, but all of the skills are relevant, I think, across those boards, and particularly, as you say there, around then how do you take what the learning is and bring your client back into the current, and also then on into the future in terms of the what's next kind of element.
Yeah, and they blend really well. So therapy and coaching, they complement each other really well if you have both of those skills, I find.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been great to introduce you to people, just to chat about life, the universe, business, podcasting. Where can people come and find you, Natasha, if they are interested?
It's been great to be on. Thank you for having me. So I've got 2 websites. It depends what you're interested in. If you're interested in me as a coach and finding out more about unlocking your ultimate up level, that's on natashabray.com. If you are someone with a hypnotherapy background interested in learning heart healing, you can find me on the schoolofhealingmastery.com.
Yeah, fab. Well, thank you, and I'll see you again soon.
Yes.
So let's see if we can end this broadcast more neatly than I began it. So let's see.